Today I'm going to wool wax the underside of my Ford F-150. This is a 2015 Ford F-150. I've been putting wool wax on for the last 3 years and it's been working great. So one of the first things I did was I've got these cheap canvas things from Harbor Freight. They're like 8x10, so I got 2 of those underneath the truck so the wool wax doesn't stain the driveway or get on the driveway. I'll show you the wool wax. I used to buy the individual cans, but last year I decided to go ahead and get the sprayer. So this is the sprayer. It's actually from the makers of wool wax, so I got it from the website. And what you'd use is these right here. So these go right onto the sprayer, and the sprayer connects to a air compressor. So the air compressor size for the connection is the smaller connection like this, and you go ahead and connect that up. And then on the other end you have your typical connection for the air hose. So this will connect to the hose that's on the compressor or directly into the compressor. So what I use is this small 6-gallon Porter and cable. It's enough for what I have to do because you're gonna spray and then you're gonna move underneath and then you're gonna spray again. So you're constantly spraying and moving. And this is still enough to be able to keep the spray going. You don't have to worry too much about not having air. So here's the hose end that I was talking about, which is typical for your compressor. I usually use this one for carpentry work, but this is what I'm using today, and I've used the past few years as well. Here's the gun connected to the compressor, so the compressor's ready to go. I've got it set to about 90 on the regulator. So the instructions that I have that came with the kit say working pressure is 40 to 90. Usually 80 to 90 is good, so I'll stay in that range. I'll go ahead and I'll put this right on there, and then I'll go ahead and start the first spray. Before I start spraying, I just want to share the 2 extra longer nozzles that come with the kit. I think this is probably about 2 feet long, but this one is just your standard end, and this one's your 360 end. So this is the one that you use when you're trying to get inside the frame. If you have a boxed frame like the F-150, there's a bunch of holes that you can stick this into to get inside the frame, which will help coat the inside. So this is what the frame looks like now. So you can see the coating is still on there from the past few years. The areas that you can see some of the rust, the surface rust, those I had to clean up because this undercoating from the factory ends up getting kind of flaky and chips off, and that's where you can see the surface rust underneath. So I went ahead and I did that in a bunch of different areas. So that was me cleaning it up, just scraping it off to be able to put a nice coat of wool wax on it again. So these are just areas that the factory coating has started to come off, so I scraped it off, and underneath the factory coating you can see that there is a bunch of surface rust on there. So that's what you want to make sure you clean up. Otherwise water gets trapped when that coating cracks underneath there, and then it'll continue to rust the frame. So go ahead and scrape it off and then coat it. So the gun is ready to go. I'll just show you what it looks like when it sprays out. I've got it adjusted to so it's not too thick coming out. It has a nice fanned look. So then you spray it, and that's what it looks like. This is the clear. I'm using. They also have a black, so if you wanted to use the black, then it would end up looking like almost like a black paint job was just done to the underside. But the clear eventually looks black because road grime is just going to get on it and stick to it. So that's what it ends up looking like. So you just do that on the whole frame, the outside of the frame, the inside of the frame, under where the bumpers are, if you have the typical metal and chrome bumpers. And then you can also do underneath, like you can kind of see here underneath this area on the bed, it's the aluminum, so a little less likely to get any rust. Just another quick note, something that I've learned after doing this the first time is that it does get into the air and around. So if you have cars that are around you or behind you, or near where you are, or there's just areas that you don't want this stuff getting on, just go ahead and put like a sheet or another one of these canvases in the area you're spraying so it doesn't fly out from underneath and get all over other things that you really don't want to coat. So I'll do that in the back, and then I'll move that sheet over along the sides and do the same thing just to keep it under the truck and away from anything else. So I'm all done, and this is what you're gonna see. So it looks wet everywhere, which is how you want it. Again, this is probably the third time I've done this to this truck, the third winter. So I didn't have to put a heavy coat, only in the spots where I scraped away. So like here that you're seeing this, I put a little heavier on. You can still see the rust a little bit underneath, but then that's just going to end up looking like the rest over here where it's going to be black. So just do that both sides of the frame and anywhere that the frame is metal made of iron. The aluminum I still coat, but I really don't spend too much time on the aluminum, which is the underside of the bed and the body panels too. I do get inside the body panels where you tend to see trucks rust. So talking about this area right here, you can get underneath and spray that, and then up around the wheel wells you can also get underneath and spray there. So I do coat that, but again, this is what it's going to look like. So hopefully this is helpful. It's really easy. I did use well, this time I only used about 1 quart, maybe 1 1/4 quarts, not too much. But your first application, if you've never done this, you'll probably use 2 to 3, and then every year after, if you do it again, you'll probably only use about 1 to 1.5. So that's it. Pretty simple. 90% of it you can do with the gun without any extensions. I use the extension at the end a little bit to get the frame up in the front. But you can also stick it in these holes when you use the 360 and make sure you get inside the frame. I did that last year. I'm not going to do that this year, but I'll end up probably doing it next year. All right, hopefully this helps. I almost forgot the cleanup. So the cleanup is actually pretty easy. You just go ahead and take one of the bottles that you used, fill it with soap and water, shake it up, clean it out as best you can, and then go ahead and mount it to the gun with soap and water, and go ahead and just spray it till you use it all up, and that'll clean out the gun, the hose, and then you're all set.